Yeah, like that introduction said, I work for the Peace Corps. I'm a senior recruiter. I actually now cover Utah, Nevada, and most of Idaho. Um, and I served in the Republic of Georgia, which is a port town, kind of equally distanced between the border with Russia and Turkey. So I worked with community members. I had 3 organizations I was assigned to: a national park, a local charity, as well as a nonprofit that focused on internally displaced people. So Russia invaded Georgia in 2008, took part of the territory, and there are people who are still haven't been able to return home. And also in the 90s, a similar thing happened. So there are a lot of internally displaced people in that region. Peace Corps started in 1961. It was started by JFK with these 3 goals: to take interested and qualified requested aid, to share the American culture with the people served, and to share the culture of the people served with those here in America. And those are the same 3 goals we have today, and what all of the volunteers that are working towards these goals. We currently don't have volunteers out because of the pandemic, but we will have them return as soon as we can and as soon as it's safe for them to do so. What I find interesting about these goals is, the first, we only go to countries that have requested us. And more than that, we only go to communities that have requested a volunteer. So we're never forcing volunteers on anyone. The second, sharing American culture. A lot of times our volunteers are the first Americans the people in their community have ever met. My host mom had learned a lot about America from TV, and so sometimes she would say, like, in America, this is how things work. And I would have to be like, no, that is not how things work in America. She once watched a movie about serial killers, and she was like, every town in America has a serial killer. And I had to be like, no, that's not true. And then to share the culture of the people served with those here in America. I serve in a country that most people in America don't know exists. And if they do know exists, know nothing about it other than it was part of the Soviet Union. So to be able to share a rich and important culture to me with the people I love here has been a really cool thing. Some general statistics about Peace Corps, things that I think are important. So 94% of our volunteers have an undergraduate degree, but it's not required. So most of our positions are a bachelor's degree or 5 years of full-time work experience. So I would imagine all of you would qualify if you wanted to serve, or if you know people who are interested in serving. And then we do accept married couples, but we also accept couples who have cohabitated for at least a year to serve together. These are the countries we currently are serving in. There are over 60. A little bit about the requirements for each of these regions. If you want to serve in Central South America, you do have to have a base in Spanish. That requirement is 2 semesters of college, 4 years of high school, or claiming fluency. And there are some other tests you can take to prove that. Parts of West Africa have the same requirement with French, but most of Africa has no language requirements. Eastern Europe and Asia have no language requirements. So if this is something you're interested in, or you know someone that's interested, and they don't know a foreign language, that's totally fine. The first 3 months of your service is technical and language training. So we will teach you how to communicate. We'll make sure that you have the skills you need to be successful, and give you all the tools you need to be a good volunteer. A little comparison of maybe something you're more familiar with: the Rotary areas of focus and the Peace Corps areas of focus, or as we call them, sectors. So our 6 sectors are education, health, youth and development, agriculture, community economic development, and environment. And as you can see, education is our #1 and biggest sector. It's what the countries that we serve in have requested the most. We have 3 different areas there: English, math, and science. And our education volunteers work in classrooms teaching these topics, but they also work with the other teachers in that community to help increase skills of those teachers, so that when our volunteers leave, those skills are still there in the community. Our health volunteers work on everything from HIV, AIDS, and malaria prevention and education to mother-child health, nutrition, sanitation, and hygiene. Really, anything that the community needs that is health focused. Youth in development is working with kids, usually mid to late teenage into their 20s, on life skills. It could be everything from positive masculinity to basic health like smoking or alcohol consumption to resume reviews, whatever it is that that community has a need for with their youth. Agriculture, those volunteers work with small farms or co-ops doing projects to help increase the output of the farmers in that community. And they also do some agribusiness work to help sell the excess that is raised. Community economic development, it's my favorite because that's what I did, but it is focused on increasing sustainable development, focused on the economy. So I worked with nonprofits. Some volunteers work with startups or startup co-ops, could be teaching entrepreneurship in the community, a variety of different projects. And then environment is focused on helping people protect the resources they have in their community. So everything from doing planned cleanups and education on the importance of protecting nature to coastline protection and environmental work. So you can see they're very similar. We do have things like a water and sanitation program in Peru that's focused on increasing clean water in the community, things like that. So we have two programs that you can look at. The first is our 2-year program. That's actually 27 months. The first 3 months are the training and then 2 years of work. We have programs in all 6 of our sectors. The average age is around 26, 27, but we have volunteers as old as 82 and as young as 20. So there's not an upper age limit for this program. You can apply at any time. You live and work in a community. You're part of a cohort that comes together. Our other program is called Peace Corps Response, and it's a 3 to 12-month program, and it's a lot more tailored towards a specific technical need. And the average age of that is about 44 years old, so a little bit older. Some of those people are return volunteers. Some are just have worked in that field and are interested in going abroad and working. That does require a bachelor's degree and 5 to 10 years of work experience in a tailored field. Both of these programs you can learn more about on our website, peacecorps.gov, and look at the individual programs that they have available. With the response, it's important to note you don't get that training with language skills. So depending on how quickly you pick up language, you might want to keep that in mind as well. Some benefits of the 2-year program, well, of all the programs, is that we pay for your flights there and home. We cover your living and housing. You get full medical and dental. And then for the 2-year program, you get 48 days of vacation, which is about 2 a month, which is the same for the response. And then when you come home, you get about $10,000 as a readjustment allowance, as well as federal hiring benefits and grad school benefits if you are interested in those. So we have a Refer a Friend program. It's just on our website, peacecorps.gov/refer. And this is an opportunity if you know someone who you think would be a good fit for one of our programs or that might be interested in it, you can go on here, put their contact information, and a recruiter like me will reach out to them. So I'm going to share a little bit about my experience in Peace Corps and what it was like for me to be a volunteer. And then we will do a little more of the presentation and answer questions. So like I said, I served in Georgia from 2015 to 2017, and I worked with nonprofits. This is a picture of the Black Sea. I am so sorry. My dog is very upset. But I worked on the Black Sea coast, and this is a picture of the Black Sea. And you can see this is a map of the world. Georgia is located right here. Sorry, 1 second. Where it's in between Russia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Turkey. These are just some pictures of my service. This is the host family that I lived with. Right here, I lived with them for 2 years. This is my host grandma. She was born and raised in the Soviet Union. She had been widowed for several years by the time I moved in, but wore black every day. Worked as a pediatric nurse. And these are my host parents, Gocha and Eka. And Eka is my favorite person in all of Georgia. She took such good care of me. And then my two host sisters, No and Mari, they were 14 and 16 when I moved in. The youngest one just started college this month, so that was really exciting for everyone. This is a picture of my town, Poti. You can see the Black Sea in the background, the cathedral that was built after the wall fell. And you can see there's paved roads. We had cafes and shops. We had Wi-Fi at my house. Compared to this city here, or town, village, Mestia, that didn't have any of that, occasionally had rolling brownouts, is the highest constantly occupied village in that part of Europe. They get snowed in the winter time. So you can see a huge contrast of what it's like to live there depending on which region of the country or which village you're in. This just some traditional dress. Every little kid in Georgia goes to dance class, so everyone has a traditional costume that they wear for holidays, like this one, which was Independence Day. It was celebrating the day that they left the Soviet Union. Yeah, and this would be where we would buy food. This is up in a village next to a ski resort, and you would just go and negotiate with the women running bazaar booths and get the food you needed. You could buy everything there, from like tractor parts to ski equipment, shoes, food, everything. These are some of the secondary projects I worked on as a volunteer. One of my big ones was doing a girls coding class. So teaching teenage girls how to make apps, and then we had them write business plans and do presentations, and they competed in an international project. I do not know how to code, so I was always about one page ahead of them in the book, trying to figure out what they needed to do, finding resources, helping them learn how to do this project. This is an American club we ran in our town. Me and another volunteer in the back, you can see him right there. And we practiced conversational English with the kids because they learned English in school, but they never got a chance to practice with native speakers. So we'd have them give presentations, we'd play games, we would teach them about world geography. In this clip, we were having a Halloween party and teaching about American holidays. So a lot of different opportunities outside of my primary purpose of being there to help share my skill set and share the knowledge I have of the world with the people in my community. This at the bottom, for example, is a Race for a Cure, where we set that up in a community and got an organization to give free mammograms. So it was an opportunity to educate and also provide health care. And these are some pictures from my primary project, working with my counterparts. This was the charity I worked with. It was called Believe. We focused on increasing the life of people with disabilities, low income, socially vulnerable as well. So we did things like this project down here, where we had a list of kids from the city that weren't going to get any gifts for New Year's, and we had them write letters to Santa, and then we partnered with businesses who then bought those presents. And we had volunteers dress as Santa Claus and bring those presents to the kids. This day, our volunteer didn't show up, and so we actually ended up getting another Peace Corps volunteer from the area to dress up like Santa and deliver presents to the kids. And the kids were like, why doesn't Santa speak Georgian very well? And my counterparts were like, well, Santa's from Finland, and so he's not Georgian, he speaks Finnish. And the kids are like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, it's funny because he's from America and he speaks English. He doesn't know Finnish either, but they didn't seem to care. These pictures are from a girls' outdoor camp we did. We had a national park in our town, and we didn't have a lot of engagement with the community to use the resources we had there. And a lot of our girls didn't have the opportunity to go out in nature anyway, because the boys got to go hunting and fishing with their dads, but the girls didn't really get that opportunity. So we did several weekend camps where we taught the girls to fish, to kayak, to do boating, how to set up tents, first aid, just general outdoor skills, so that they would have the confidence to keep doing it afterwards. And that was one of those projects that afterwards kind of took on a life of its own. So we did the camps, everyone had a great time, And then it turned out the girls started their own little hiking group, and they would go out and do stuff in nature together without us having to plan it. And that was a really cool opportunity to see them taking skills we had taught them and then using it in their life moving forward. Yeah, these are just a quick snippet of the kind of projects I was able to do during my service. And I was just one volunteer in one community. And so you can imagine the impact volunteers have on the communities they serve worldwide. So what does this have to do with you and your club? There are lots of ways you can partner with Peace Corps, and because we have that official agreement, you can obviously directly serve. If you're interested in doing it, apply, go and serve in the Peace Corps. Pick a country, apply directly to that country or to where you're needed most, and commit to the 3 months to 2 years. But you can also partner with return volunteers to do projects here in Reno. You can donate to the grant program we have on our website. When we have volunteers in service, they write grants, and then the community contributes at least 25%, and then they can fundraise the rest. And so you can contribute to that. You can work with the staff in country to see what the Peace Corps volunteers need or what the community needs, and donate or volunteer that way. So lots of ways to partner with Peace Corps, partner with our volunteers, and help a community somewhere overseas. And just a quote about someone who served in the Peace Corps and how the collaboration between the two, Rotary and Peace Corps, has been so meaningful. So that is our general information and some of my experiences. So I'm available now for questions. This is also my contact information. If you would like to email or call me or give this out to anyone, I'd be happy for that to happen. I am a full-time recruiter for the Peace Corps, so I do presentations like this all the time. If you have another club you'd like to, or a college class or anything like that, I'm happy to partner with you in any way I can. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see everybody and the chat. I'm also going to put in the chat a link to put your name and email address. So if you want to get on our email list, just fill out that form that's now in the chat, and that I'll be able to circle back with you and contact you directly. So any questions about Peace Corps or about Georgia?
That's great. Any questions for Miranda? Yeah, Kathy.
Miranda, how did you do with the language while you were in Georgia?
Yeah, so language learning is really hard for me. So I don't feel like I ever got fluent. I have a friend that lived just south of me about 40 minutes, and she was fluent by the time we left. But my host family spoke English, and so did my counterparts. So I would try to speak Georgian to them, and they'd finally just be like, let's just do this in English. We all know English, but yeah, I got a lot of help with it. So we had that 3 months of training, and then I also got a tutor when I was in my site, and I'd meet with her twice a week for my first year and practice the language. So I got to a point where I could like order food and get a taxi and ask for directions. If you're interested, I could speak a little Georgian if people would like to hear that.
Say a sentence.
Okay, so for example, if you saw someone in the street and you wanted to say, hello, how are you? You'd say, and then the response to that would be Kargan. So yeah, you can hear it's very different than English. It's not familiar. It's the only language left in its family, so it doesn't share an alphabet with anyone. It doesn't share like sound patterns with anyone. It's just uniquely Georgian.
Now, I've heard the grammar is really weird.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, Miranda, how has the worldwide pandemic affected the Peace Corps?
So we've actually evacuated all of our volunteers at this point because the volunteer safety and health is our #1 priority. And so we didn't feel like we could leave them there with borders closing and medical needs and all of that. We still are operating. There are still staff in country. And we are working as best we can to get volunteers back into site as soon as we can, as soon as we feel like it's safe for them. But right now, we don't have any active volunteers.
Anyone else? I have a question. On the map that you showed of places where the Peace Corps volunteers go or have been invited to go, you had China on the map. Is that a place that actually asks American Peace Corps people to go, and why?
Yeah, so we did have volunteers in China. I don't know if China or if we'll have volunteers return to China. There was kind of the contract and negotiation was up right before COVID hit. So we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, they've requested volunteers. We only have Peace Corps volunteers in one region of China. They teach English at the college level. They're actually referred to as the American China Friendship Corps in China, but yeah, they teach English, they work with kids. I think it's a really great opportunity, and I think that for all Peace Corps countries, it's an opportunity for people to actually see and meet Americans and get to know them as individuals and learn to love them as people and see America as a different view than what they normally would get to see either from their own media or from our media.
Right, get beyond the propaganda. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much. It was very informative, and I'm glad to see that the Peace Corps is still going after all these years. I know some of my friends back in the 1960s joined the Peace Corps, and it was something that people really got a great experience from, and happy to see that it's still going strong.
Yeah, I think 70-year anniversary is next year, so
yeah,
it's a big deal.
Hey, Steve Erder.
Mike Rainey, what was your experience? What did you do when you were in the Peace Corps? Maybe I missed it.
Well, I drank a lot of coffee because I lived in Colombia, so I can at least, say that. Only kidding. I was a business major at the University of Oregon, and so I helped, similar to what Miranda did, was I was helping local small businesses, especially export crafts to the United States, and working with several what they call cooperatives. This was supplementary income to the family. These were mostly women who worked and made these handicrafts. And because of I could speak English, I was able to make contacts in the United States in order to hook up artisan shops that were interested in the types of things that types of crafts that were there. So just a quick story on that. The women at times made more money than the men because these are poor, certainly poor families. So the men were a bit jealous of their wives, and I'm sure they got over it, but it was kind of a cultural issue in terms of that. And I think, Miranda, I think you could probably speak to it too, that learning about the culture is really half the fun, besides trying to learn the language, which is always hard. So it was a great experience for me. I took away far more than I think I gave as a 23-year-old idealistic American, but it was a great experience, and I do recommend it.
And it's still paying off now with your ability to do international projects in Colombia and
yes, it's certainly, it has inspired me with our work that the club is doing in Colombia, but it doesn't preclude, obviously, working in other countries, but it just happened to be my favorite place to work.
Anyone else? Okay, great program, Miranda, and thanks, Mike, for bringing her on, because I think we learned a lot and we all enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.